Hi children, today I am going to start a new lesson and the title of the lesson is Understanding Secularism. Now let us start the lesson with the definition of secularism. What is secularism? Delinking state from religion, that means separating the state from religion is called as secularism. If government, that is state, and religion are separated from each other, that is called as secularism. Now we will learn in detail. Now just for a moment, you imagine that you are a citizen of America. Though you are a citizen of America, if you are a Hindu or Muslim, no one will rent their house to you. And at that time, what will be your reaction? Either you may decide to make a complaint against this discrimination, and if you do that, you may be asked by people in U.S.A. to go back to India. And you may get angry. And in that anger, you may react saying that Christians also should get the same treatment where Hindus and Muslims are in majority. Because tit for tat, to pay them in the same coin. So you may say that Christians also should get the same treatment where Hindus and Muslims are in majority. And it is a form of reaction, like revenge or retaliation. Or you may fight against discrimination on the grounds of religion, saying that such discrimination is not allowed. You may fight against such discrimination. That means you wish that all type of domination related to religion should be ended. And this is secularism. This is called secularism. And in this lesson, we are going to learn about what this secularism means in the Indian context. India is a democratic state, as you know, and it is a secular state also at the same time. So what this secularism means in the Indian context, now we are going to learn in this lesson. In history, we have many examples of discriminations on the basis of race, caste, religion, examples of exclusion and persecution of people on the basis of religion. All these many examples are there in our past history. For example, millions of Jews were persecuted in Germany by Hitler. When Hitler was the ruler in Germany, he persecuted millions of Jews for no reason. Several millions were killed. Several millions of Jews were killed in Germany by Hitler. And now, since a separate state for Jews, that is Israel, has been created by the U.N.O., as you know, when there were conflicts between the Jews and the Arabs over the ownership of a state, then the U.N.O. interfered and it created a new state for Jews that is called Israel. That means a part of Palestine was made as Israel state for Jews. It was a separate state for Jews. And in Palestine, Arabs were living and Israel was made for Jews, a separate state by the U.N.O. And the Jewish state of Israel treats Muslims and Christian minorities living in Israel with much discrimination. Once they faced discrimination, Jews, but when they got their own state of Israel, created by the U.N.O., they started discriminating Muslims and Christian minorities who were living in Israel. With much discrimination, they were being treated by the Jews in Israel. And in Saudi Arabia, other than Muslims are not allowed to build a temple or a church. They are not allowed to gather in public places for any prayers also. And in all these examples, which we have discussed now, we can see that one religious community discriminates the other religious communities. The other religious communities are discriminated against by one religious community which feels that it is superior. And such acts of discrimination take place when any one particular religion is given official status or recognition by making it state religion. If the government makes any particular religion as state religion, then such discriminations they take place. Because that religious people, the religion which has been made a state religion, they feel that they are superior and they start discriminating the other religious communities. Ignoring the other religions, they feel that they are only the superiors. And everyone has respect for his or her own religion and no one wants to be discriminated against by any other religious community. All the religious communities are equal. They must be equally treated. and no one wants to be discriminated against by any other religious community, nor wants to be dominated by any other religious community. They don't like domination of other religious communities, or they don't want to be discriminated against by any other religious communities. Each and every religious community has its own respect, and it is equal to all the other religious communities. It should not be discriminated against. And because all religious communities expect equal treatment, and if we take the example of India, no one can be discriminated against on the grounds of religion, because ours is a secular state. In a secular state, no one can be discriminated against on the grounds of religion, and that is the idea of secularism. No discrimination on the grounds of religion. This is the main idea of secularism. Now let us see what is secularism. As you know already, the Indian Constitution provides fundamental rights to all the citizens. And right to religious freedom is one of the fundamental rights. Right to religious freedom means we can follow any religious faith or belief of our own choice. In whichever religious faith or belief we believe, we can follow that religion. And that means people have the freedom to follow any religious faith of their choice. For facilitating this right to freedom of religion to all the people, in India, religion is separated from the power of the state. Religion is separated from the state. Why it is separated? Just for facilitating the right to freedom of religion to be enjoyed by all the people. For that purpose only, the religion has been separated from the state. And this separation of religion from the state is known as secularism. So, in one word, what is secularism? Separation of religion from the state, or delinking state from religion. Delinking religion from state, delinking state from religion, or separating religion from the state. This is called as secularism. Now, why is it important to separate religion from the state? The most important aspect of secularism is separating religion from state. Just now we have decided it. And mainly for democratic countries, it is very important for the successful functioning of democracy. If we want the democracy to function successfully, we have to separate religion from state. And in almost all the countries of the world, there are more than one religious community living together. We can see in all the countries there are people belonging to different religious communities living together. And out of these religious communities, any one religious community will be in majority, and the other groups will be in minorities. And naturally, the majority religious community, which has access to state power, will use this power and also the financial resources for their own religious community. If they are given access to power, immediately what they will do? They will use their state power, their power, and also they will use the financial resources for their own religious community. For the welfare of their own religious community people, they will use their financial resources as well as their power. And thus, they will discriminate the other religious groups or communities. And it will also dominate all the other religious communities. The majority religious community group, it will also dominate all the other religious communities. And the majority religious community may also persecute persons of other religious communities. Sometimes it may also be possible that the majority religious community, it may resort to persecuting people of other religious communities. Mass killings of other people of other religious communities, which may finally result in the mass killings of other religious minorities. And not only this, the majority religious community may prevent the minorities from practicing their own religions. Minorities have their own religious beliefs and faiths, and this may be prevented by the majority religious community group if it comes to power. That means the minority religious communities, they may be prevented from following their own religious practices. Any such domination of one religious community over the other minority communities is in violation of fundamental rights, because it is the fundamental right of each and every citizen to follow his or her own religion, and it is guaranteed by the Constitution. So when it is not allowed by the majority community group, means it is in violation of fundamental rights. And to avoid such tyranny of the majority community and to avoid violation of fundamental rights, it is important that the state and religion are separated in democratic countries. That is the reason why it is important to separate religion and state, especially in democratic countries, because people belonging to different faiths and beliefs live together. So it is necessary that state and religion are separated, so that no one religious community or majority religious community dominates the other religious communities, or it discriminates them on the basis of religion. Now, another reason for separating religion from state is that in democracy, people should be given freedom to exit from one religion and follow another religion. In democracy, people must be given full freedom to follow their own religious faith. Suppose they are Hindus. If they want to get converted to Christianity or Islam, the freedom must be given to the citizens to get converted to any other religion of their choice, to exit from one religion and embrace another religion. That freedom must be given to the people in a democracy. And people must be given freedom to interpret religion in their own way. They have full freedom to interpret their religion in their own way. To protect this freedom of religion, it is very important that religion be separated from the state. And that is another important reason why religion must be separated from the state. Now, what is Indian secularism? As you know, according to the Indian Constitution, India is declared as a secular state. Secular state means the government treats all the religions equally. No discrimination is shown towards any religious community on the basis of religion. All are equal before government. All are equal before law. No special treatment is given to or special status is given to any particular religion. This is called a secular state. And according to the Indian Constitution, India is declared as a secular state. And only a secular state can realize its objectives and make sure that one religious community does not dominate other. It is possible only in a secular state that one religious community does not dominate another, because all religious communities are equal before the government, in the eyes of the government. And some members do not dominate other members of the same religious, within the same religious community also. Sometimes some members may dominate the other members of the same community. And that also does not happen in a secular state. And the state does not enforce any particular religion. The state never forces the people to follow any particular religion, because it does not interfere in matters of religion, nor it takes away religious freedom of individuals. Religious freedom means to follow any religious faith of their choice. If they want to get converted to any other religion, they can get converted. So, these are possible only in a secular state, and that is Indian secularism. The Indian state works in various ways to prevent the domination of one religious community over the other religious communities. The Indian state works in various ways. First of all, it uses a strategy of distancing itself from religion. That means the state keeps itself at a distance from religion. And the Indian state is not ruled by a religious group, nor does it support any one religion. The Indian government does not support any one religion, and it is not ruled by any one religious group. Because political parties, they are contesting in the elections and they are being elected. And in a political party, there are people of different religious communities together. So, no particular religious group rules the country. Or Indian government does not support any one religion. And in India, government places like law courts, police stations, government schools or government offices, in these places, people are not supposed to display or promote any one religion. Promoting any one religion, they cannot display anything in these government places. And the second way in which Indian secularism works is, it prevents the above domination. Above domination means the domination of one religious community over the other religious communities. Through a strategy of non-interference, the government does not interfere in religious matters, and thus it prevents the domination of one religious community over the other communities. This means, in order to respect the sentiments of all the religions equally, the government does not interfere in religious matters or in religious practices of the religious communities. The state sometimes makes certain exceptions for particular religious communities if it is required. If it feels that there is a necessity, the state or the government makes certain exceptions for particular religious communities. And the third way in which the government, the secular government, prevents the domination of one religious community. Some people are discriminated as they belong to lower castes. That we know. Even today we can see it in the society here and there. And in order to prevent such discrimination, the Indian Constitution has abolished untouchability through Article 17 of the Constitution. Article 17 of the Indian Constitution abolishes untouchability. Untouchability, it is a crime now. It is a practice which discriminates people on the basis of their caste. So, this untouchability has been abolished by Article 17 of the Indian Constitution. And in a secular state like India, the government does not interfere in matters of religion. But in this aspect, the government has interfered in order to put an end to a social evil practice, that is untouchability. Generally, the government in a secular state does not interfere in matters of religion. But in this aspect, why the government has made the Article 17 which abolishes untouchability? Because in this aspect, the government has interfered in order to put an end to a social evil practice, that is untouchability. And this untouchability discriminates and excludes people. So the government has interfered. And also it violates the fundamental rights of the lower castes. If untouchability still prevails, that means it is violation of fundamental rights of the lower castes. They have full freedom to enjoy their life. So we are violating the fundamental rights of lower castes. So to prevent this, the government interferes. The government interfered and it has abolished untouchability through Article 17. Because these lower caste people also, they are also the citizens of India equally along with other castes. So they must enjoy the fundamental rights. And sometimes the government may interfere in the religion-based personal laws of the communities. Sometimes the government may interfere in the religion-based personal laws of the community. There are some personal laws which are made for certain communities. And the government may interfere in these personal laws of the communities to make sure that laws relating to equal inheritance rights are respected for all the people. And this intervention of the government in religious matters may also be in the form of extending support. Sometimes the government interference in religious matters, it will be in the form of extending support. By extending support to the religious communities also, the government may interfere in religious matters. For example, the Indian Constitution under Article 29 grants right to the minorities to protect their own language and culture. And under Article 30 of the Constitution of India grants right to the minorities to establish their own educational institutions like schools and colleges. And the government also provides financial aid to such schools and colleges which are established by the minorities. On a non-preferential basis, the government also provides financial aid to such schools and colleges which are established by the minorities. And such objectives have been included in the constitution of secular democratic countries in other parts of the world also. For example, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws that respect an establishment of religion or if any law that prohibits the free exercise of any religion. The U.S. Constitution also, according to the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it is prohibited that the legislature does not make any laws that respect an establishment of religion or if any law that prohibits the free exercise of any religion. And here the word establishment means that the legislature cannot declare any religion as the official religion, nor it can give preferential treatment to any religion. Just like in India, in U.S.A. also religion is separated from the state. In U.S.A., it means the separation of state from religion means neither state nor religion can interfere in each other's affairs. But in India, it means that In certain aspects, the government interferes. Whenever there is violation of any fundamental rights for the other religious communities or the lower caste people, the government interferes and makes necessary arrangements. That is the difference between separation of state from the religion in India and USA. In USA, the separation of religion from state means neither state nor the religion can interfere in each other's affairs. The government cannot interfere in religious matters of the people, and the religion cannot interfere in the government affairs. So in each other's affairs they cannot interfere. But in India, the government can interfere in religion. Generally, it does not interfere. To prevent the domination of the majority religious communities, it does not interfere in religious matters. But whenever there is violation of fundamental rights for lower castes or for other religious communities, the government interferes and takes necessary steps. And in USA, most of the children in government schools, they have to begin their school day reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Just like we say a pledge in our school, India is my country, that is our pledge. In USA, the school children in government schools, they start their day by reciting Pledge of Allegiance. And this pledge includes the words under God. In this pledge, in USA pledge, the words under God are included. And this pledge was established more than 60 years ago. That government school students are not required to recite the pledge if it conflicts with their religious beliefs, because the words under God are used in the pledge. It was established more than 60 years ago itself that if the government school students, they need not recite the pledge if they feel that these words under God, they are conflicting with their religious beliefs. They need not recite the pledge. And despite this, there have been several legal challenges objecting to these words under God, which are used in the USA pledge, saying that it violates the separation between church and state. Church means religion. And these words under God, they are violating the separation between church and the state that the First Amendment of the US Constitution guaranteed. Just now we discussed about the First Amendment to US Constitution. And there is one significant way. Now let us see the difference between U.S.A. secularism and Indian secularism. Already I have explained just now briefly. In America, state and religion are strictly separated and they cannot interfere in each other's affairs. The government cannot interfere into religious matters, and the religion also cannot interfere in government affairs. In Indian secularism, the government can interfere in religious matters. And the best example for this is abolition of untouchability through Article 17 and Article 29, Article 30, which provide rights to the minorities to establish their own educational institutions, to protect their language and culture. These articles, they are the best examples for this. And in Indian secularism, the state is not strictly separated from religion. It maintains a distance from religion based on the ideals laid down in the Constitution. If these ideals become a hurdle for any religious community, as I told you, if the fundamental rights of any other religious community are violated, that means these ideals become a hurdle for any other religious community, then the government interferes in religious matters and takes necessary steps. The Indian state is secular on the whole. On the whole, India is a secular state, and it works in many ways to prevent religious domination of any one religious community over the other communities. As you know, the Indian Constitution guarantees fundamental rights to all the citizens, and these fundamental rights are based on secular principles. And though these fundamental rights are based on secular principles, there are instances when these fundamental rights are also violated. And to stop such violations of fundamental rights, we need a constitutional mechanism to prevent them. I am repeating once again. The Indian state is a secular state on the whole, and it works in many ways to prevent the religious domination of one religious community over the others. And Indian Constitution guarantees fundamental rights to all the citizens, and these fundamental rights are based on secular principles. And though these fundamental rights are based on secular principles, there are instances when these fundamental rights are also violated. And to stop such violation of fundamental rights, we need a constitutional mechanism to prevent these violations or discriminations. Now, finally, in France, in 1960s, France faced a shortage of workers. France was in need of many workers, and therefore it provided visas for many people freely. That means without much difficulty, visas were provided to the people of many countries so that they can come and work as workers in France, because they were in need of workers. There was shortage of workers, and at that time the people from Algeria, Tunisia and Morocco, many people from these French colonies of Algeria, Tunisia and Morocco, they migrated to France, and they came as immigrants to France. Immigrants means those who come to the country, they are called immigrants. Immigrants means those who leave the country and go to other countries, they are immigrants. So many people from Algeria, Tunisia and Morocco, these are African countries, they migrated to France and they started working there. But there is, in February 2004, France passed a law, and according to this law, students were banned from wearing any conspicuous religious or political signs or symbols. Students were not allowed to wear any conspicuous religious or political signs or symbols such as the Islamic headscarf, the Jewish skull cap, or large Christian crosses. The students were not allowed to wear. And this law has encountered a lot of resistance. It was resisted by all these immigrants because the children of these families, immigrants, they used to wear these Jewish skull caps and Islamic headscarves and other political religious symbols also, because it is a mark of their religion. They used to wear these symbols, and it was strongly resisted by the people by these immigrants. And the daughters of these immigrants, often they wear headscarves while attending school. However, with the passing of this new law, they have been expelled from their schools also for wearing headscarves. At one instance, they were even expelled from the school for wearing headscarf because it was against their law. In February 2004, France passed a law banning all these things. So, children who were wearing these, they were expelled from the school also. Now, this is the end of the lesson. As usual, I am giving you homework. Read full lesson and underline all the key points and complete the blanks in the material.